Welcome back to On the Rise as Canada Soccer and Jesse Marsh have announced the Canada squad for the Concacaf Nations League Finals. And this team is extremely exciting and arguably one of the best Canadian squads we've ever seen called up. With exciting new dual nationals, along with quality in depth across every single position, as well as tier 1 players and elite world-class players, this Canadian squad might not be like any we've seen before and might just be the best Canadian squad yet that is also set for one of the most important years in Canadian soccer, and this is a major tournament and a huge opportunity for Canada to win silverware. And I'm going to give you guys my general reactions and the breakdown to each position on the squad. Before we do, guys, jump into the comments and let me know your thoughts on the squad and if you would have changed anything and your general opinions, as well as smash that like button and drop a sub, guys, because there's going to be so much content coming out around this side. But we're going to jump straight into it, guys, and we're of course jumping straight into it with the goalkeepers. We have Maxime Crépeau, Tom McGill, and Dane St. Clair. And really, this selection, the only one that was really in debate was the number 3 goalkeeper. There was a lot of talk of Jonathan Sirois, James Pantemis, Tom McGill, and yes, it ends up being Tom McGill. But you could have went any which direction on bringing in the 2 Portland goalkeepers. You could have brought in Jonathan Sirois, or you could have stuck with Tom McGill, the young up-and-coming Canadian goalkeeper. And we went with Tom McGill. That's not the position that we have to worry about, but that's probably who I would have went with, and it really doesn't matter because he's just there for training. The other question is Dane St. Clair and Max Crépeau, and Max Crépeau is of course going to be the number 2 in my opinion. Dane St. Clair is the clear out-and-out favorite to be the number 1. He has shown it now on the last couple of times and opportunities he's had with the Canadian national team. And his club form in general has just been absolutely incredible, and hopefully he can earn and make a move abroad very soon because his general play has absolutely deserved it in the MLS, and he is truly Canada's number 1 goalkeeper option. But moving on to the defenders, and it is by far the best defending group I've seen from a Canadian squad, in my general opinion. When you look at the defenders, you have Moise Bombito, Derek Cornelius, Alphonso Davies, Richie Laryea, Alistair Johnston, Jamie Knight-Labelle, and Joel Waterman. This is a stacked defending depth chart and a defending group. Yes, you can look at outside of Bombito and Cornelius, you might want to question the depth, but I think the center back depth right now is better than we've ever seen before, and I will make a video on that separately. But when you look at the center back group, Moise Bombito, Cornelius, Jamie Knight-Labelle, who's a very young center back who has played very well out in England, as well as Joel Waterman, who is a very consistent center back and will always usually give you a 7 out of 6 out of 10 performance and can have a very good match on his day. He is a great option off the bench. But Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius are arguably maybe the 2 best center backs in the region, but arguably, I don't think it's argued anymore, is the best center back pairing in the region. Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius have the composure, have the calmness, and have the ball playing ability, as well as the speed, and they're just a perfect pairing. And the fact that you can pair up their athleticism, their agility, and their pace, we have a special defending group, and the Canadian back 4 is something I never thought I'd see before. All playing in top tier 1 leagues. Yes, you can argue about Alistair Johnston, but he's definitely probably making the step up to the Premier League in the summer. And that back 4 is just something we never thought we'd truly expect, in my opinion. But when you look at the fullbacks, I think there's of course a lack of depth there right now, but it's very strong. Alphonso Davies, Richie Laryea, as well as the likes of Alistair Johnston. And also, when you look at the midfield group, Nico Seeger is there, but Nico Seeger can fill in at right back as well as Ali Ahmed, who can fill in at left back at a stretch. So this team, yes, you can look at a depth and say we only have 3 fullbacks on that defending roster, but when you look at the midfield, we have 2 midfielders who can do an excellent job at fullback at a stretch, and I don't think we're going to have to worry about Nico Seeger coming into right back, but he has played there before for Canada. He's done it for Hajduk Split, and he's a great backup option if Richie Laryea fills in at left back, or if Richie Laryea does not fill in at right back as well, depending on his fitness issues. So it'll be very interesting depending on Richie Laray's injury. But our front four, our current back four, how it sits is absolutely perfect. And we arguably have the best back four right now in CONCACAF. And I think it's very strong. And there's no need to worry about that Canadian back line. I don't think we'll have to worry about it for a long time because it is very good. But looking at the midfielding group now, there's no really huge shocks, in my opinion, to this entire squad, barring maybe one or two players you could argue are a bit of an interesting call-up. But midfielders, we have Ali Ahmed, Tajon Buchanan, Mathieu Choinière, Stefan Eustáquio, Ismail Kone, Jonathan Osorio, Jacob Schaffelberg, and Nico Seeger. One that really got me out here was Jacob Schaffelberg not earning any minutes so far in the MLS, being down with an injury. His fitness must be good enough to play some sort of role for Jesse Marsch and the Canadian national team at this Concacaf Nations League because he wouldn't have been called up. So I can understand why he is called up because Jacob Schaffelberg, even if he has 30 minutes of fitness in him, laid on against Mexico, 20 minutes of fitness on him, and he's at his best for 20 minutes, you bring him on, he makes a huge impact into the game as a late super sub. Jacob Schaffelberg, Tajon Buchanan, even one of those off the bench makes a huge impact. With Jacob Schaffelberg not having the minutes right now, I'm very surprised he got the call up, but it just indicates to me how important he is to Jesse Marsch's system, style of play, and that he definitely is fit enough to give a certain level of performance or time on the pitch to make it worthwhile of that call up. Because Jacob Schaffelberg can definitely be a game changer or a X factor to this team off the bench, a true super sub, as you'd call it. But we've seen it before. He's done it many of times for his Canadian team. And like I say, 20, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever he can give you, Jacob Schaffelberg being able to portray that in the field would be great, especially against Mexico late on, no matter what the situation is. You bring on Jacob Schaffelberg with his pace, dribbling ability. It always gets in the back of the fullback's mind and thinks, I can't bomb on any further. I got to worry about Jacob Schaffelberg getting behind me, creating a chance and scoring goals. And it's great to see him on that roster. Having Ali Ahmed and Nico Seeger, like I said, it gives you that fullback depth as well. But this midfield is very exciting. Yes, Ismail Kone's game time has been up and down, but he's been playing very well since making his loan move to his new side in Liga. Stefan Eustáquio's form, he's still a great midfielder. He's still doing his absolute utmost. One that very much does surprise me is Mathieu Choinière. Personally, I would have went with Nathan Saliba with his minutes, how well he's played with CF Montreal to start the season, especially in the opener. But Mathieu Choinière's minutes have been up and down, but it just shows me how important he is to Jesse Marsch's system, and the fact that we can look at the squad now and say, this guy wasn't called up in Nathan Saliba, but Mathieu Choinière is there, and we're still happy. It is a call-up that I would have preferred, but it's not one that I'm going to really complain about. I love absolutely every player on this roster. I love players that didn't get called up, but it's just ones that I would have preferred him to him. And it's not one that you can really complain about because this squad is filtered with quality and now is filtered with quality and depth. And when you look at the midfielders, you're talking about Choinière, Eustáquio, Kone, Nico Seeger, and you just completely skip over Jonathan Osorio, who is still a huge game changer and difference maker and has been in the past for Canada against Mexico. Could he get minutes? That's a very interesting thing that we will have to wait and see for Jesse Marsch, because you have Kone, you have Eustáquio, you have Nico Seeger, who's been playing some great football. So it'll be very interesting to see in Jonathan Osorio, who has been known before to have a huge moment against Mexico. And maybe he can replicate that and do it once again against Mexico. I'd absolutely love to see Jonathan Osorio score the winner against Mexico. That would be absolutely scenes. But this midfield group is very loaded with depth. One thing you got to look at out of this squad is the wing depth. It does concern me a little bit when you have Jacob Schaffelberg, who has been light on minutes with club football. You have Tajon Buchanan, who has been light on minutes with Villarreal. You have Ali Ahmed, who hasn't got the most minutes so far with Vancouver Whitecaps. And then your wing-back's depth, or your winger depth, starts to drop off a bit. You have three out-and-out wingers there. That's a very big concern in my opinion. Jaden Nelson, you could have made the argument to give him the call-up, but yes, he went down with that injury. And we don't know how crucial that is. But I do think Jaden Nelson, if he works his way and continues to play in form, he'll be there for the Gold Cup. I'm just very surprised to only see three out-and-out wingers on this squad. Yes, Nico Seeger can also do a job at right midfield, so you can put him there as well. He's a very much a Swedish Army knife and can play at multiple different positions, but he's not a primary winger. That is what I would have preferred to see, an extra winger on the squad. But we gotta remember, this tournament is only 3 or 4 days. It is only 2 games. So you just need your squad to play at the utmost max. The one thing that does concern me is the lack of minutes so far for all of our wingers. But moving on to V forwards, V strikers, the players who make the money and who will win us this Nations League title, in my opinion, is Jonathan David, Promise David, Daniel Jebison, Kyle Larin, and Tani Oluwase. This forward group is deeper than we ever could have imagined. This squad, the quality in this team is absolutely ridiculous. And to see 5 strikers, of course they're not all going to get minutes, and I really hope they don't all get minutes. But to see them all there, to see 2 new dual nationals, and not just dual nationals who are there to get cap-tied, these are dual nationals who could make a difference on the pitch. In Daniel Jebison and Promise David. One you could argue could potentially start in Promise David. This is a position where I couldn't tell you who the front 2 will be. Yes, you'd expect it to be Jonathan David and Kyle Larin. Go with familiarity. Go with that. Of course, that partnership, that link-up play that has worked so well for Jesse Marsch, whether it's at the Copa America, whether it's at friendlies, and has gotten the best out of those 2. But you could lean to Promise David, who's been scoring for absolute fun in Belgium or in European competitions and is doing it on a regular basis, while Kyle Larin has been starting off the bench for RCD Mallorca and hasn't been getting those same minutes or scoring those same types of goals as a Promise David. There is a big case for Promise David to start this game. And also, when you look at this forward depth, I personally would have taken Jason Russell-Rowe over Tani Oluwase, but Jason Russell-Rowe is going to continue to get minutes. He's going to continue to play well with Columbus Crew, and just look forward to the Gold Cup when we're going to have players like Jaden Nelson, Jason Russell-Rowe starting up front and playing phenomenal football. Those players are going to look great and get a huge opportunity at the Gold Cup. And that's going to be a great chance for players like Jason Russell-Rowe, for Daniel Jebison, Tani Oluwase to have their moment. But for the Nations League, it's great that this is the front 5. But it's going to be very exciting to see who starts and who gets the minutes and who you guys would prefer up front as your front 2. I personally want to see it to be David and David, Jonathan and Promise, but you could lead Kyle Larin. And I really do think Jesse Marsch will stay with the tried and trusted 2 in Kyle Larin and Jonathan David. It just makes sense. Go with familiarity in a big game. It's a very big ask to shake things up and to try a new front 2 pair in a 4-4-2 system that so heavily depends on your front 2 being able to play off each other, being able to know how they each play. And yes, Promise David's a fantastic footballer, so is Jonathan David, so is Kyle Larin, and they'd be able to learn very fast. But it's a big ask against L3. Promise David has not yet played a game in Concacaf football. It will be a semi-shock to him, so it'll be very interesting to see. I'm sure we'll see Promise David be the first man off the bench. If it is Tani Oluwase, no offense, Tani Oluwase, I love him as a footballer. I love every player in the squad, as I've said, but I really, really hope Jesse Marsch doesn't lean that much with familiarity and stick with Tani Oluwase off the bench. If it comes down to needing a goal, it better be Promise David getting the call off the bench along with Jacob Schaffelberg, because Promise David knows how to score and he has showed it regularly this season. Let me know who you guys would want as your starting lineup. Let me know who you guys would like to see starting up top, as well as some of your controversial opinions. Guys, let me know in the comments. Make sure to drop that like button and smash that sub button as well. We're going to have the things we know come out tomorrow. We're going to break down the positions, talk about some of the controversial talks in multiple videos leading up to the Concacaf Nations League Finals, where hopefully Canada will bring home the trophy.